Hello. All the major religious deities, Jesus, Krishna and so on, were extraterrestrials in human form who were sent to Earth by the gods from space to bring about a higher consciousness in our evolution. Jesus and Buddha came from Venus, Krishna came from Saturn. That was the message given to Dr. George King by an extraterrestrial in 1955. Dr. George consequently founded the Aetherius Society.
My name is Diane Kay, and I've been a member of the Aetherius Society for 4 years. And for me, life is a gift. And everything that happens to me is a gift, because it's there for me to learn from, whether I actually like the experience or not at the time. And I can move forward and progress. And more I see the importance of helping people. That's why I'm here.
Hello, my name is Ray Nielsen. I've been a member of the Aetherius Society since 1960. And my main thought at this time is how the Society can help people take the theory of religious philosophy and put it into the language of direct action.
Hello, my name is Gary Lloyd. I'm an assistant manager in a health food shop, and I've been a member of the Aetherius Society since 1993.
My name's Dee Bagter. What drew me to the Aetherius Society was their message of service to humanity.
Hello, my name is Christopher Perry. I'm a member of the Aetherius Society. I'm very pleased to be here this evening and to have this opportunity of sharing my experiences with others.
The purpose of the Aetherius Society is many-fold. And in the beginning, the first phase of George King's mission was to bring to mankind certain information, certain messages. We call them transmissions. And in order to receive this information, George King had to train himself to go into a very, very deep state of yogic trance, known in the East as samadhi. And it's whilst he was in that state of trance that the intelligences from other worlds were able to communicate through him, using him as a channel, and the information came through like sound. Being an Englishman, they were translated through the brain mechanism into English.
Let me just ask, I want to go back to how he came to hear these messages. Did he go into this meditative state with the aim of hearing these messages, or did they just happen when he was in that state?
Well, not initially. I mean, initially, when he had his first contact, he was a bachelor living in London in his flat, Saturday morning doing the washing up. And he was given a command: prepare yourself. You are to be the voice of interplanetary parliament.
How did this command come?
It was a voice that he heard outside of himself. And he was so surprised and so amazed, he dropped the plate that he was washing up at the time onto the floor. But the only thing that he did know at that, interplanetary parliament didn't mean a thing to him at that time. The only thing that he knew, John, was that he wasn't being deceived. He had heard something. And from that rather surprising and for him a very dramatic start, that is how the whole thing started. But it was what we would call the command. He wasn't asked, he was told. It was an order. He didn't sort of, I'm just drawing a comparison here, but he didn't sort of say, oh, I think I'm receiving messages from the Pleiades or something, which is rather a popular thing these days. No, on the contrary, he was ordered to do that.
And he knew that from the tone of voice?
Well, he could already differentiate the fact that he has been given a message from outside of himself, and that he wasn't sort of being deceived or voices in the head or anything like that.
Did he ever
because
wonder what would have
know.
happened had he disobeyed the order?
Fascinating question. That really is an interesting question. And I believe, this is my personal belief, that his higher consciousness was ready for that experience, and that when the actual command was given in the way that it came, it triggered off something. And being a master of yoga, a logical approach was then taken. If the experience is real, then we must find out the source. And it was from there that his frustration began, because he couldn't go into a library and look up interplanetary Barnum and find out what exactly that's all about. I mean, his friends, who were also very, very sympathetic to spiritual development, and a lot of them were mediums, I mean, even they said, well, this is beyond our experience. We realize that you've had this experience. We can't answer it. And it was that which drove him to the next stage, which is probably the most important, John. And that is that he decided the only way to find out where the source of this message came from was to adopt the process of meditation. And he prepared himself to do that. He locked the door, he was completely alone, and he prepared to go into meditation. And he was so determined, he's taught us, that he was prepared to go into meditation until he found the answer.
And how long did it take him?
Not very long at all. Not very long at all. And that's,
weeks?
No. As soon as he began to prepare himself, he was just about to go into meditation or begin his ritual, and then the second dramatic experience took place. And Christopher will finish the story.
Again, he was in his flat, and I think he was in a reflective mood, and a being literally walked through the door of the flat. Physically, though, well, he walked through the closed door of the flat, but he could also hear the floorboards creaking as the person walked across the floorboards, and he could tell by his dress that he was a master from the East, India. And he sat down and talked to George King about the nature of the mission that he was to undertake.
And what did he say?
Ray, would you like to pick up?
He virtually said that there were certain moves that were going to be made because of the forthcoming change on this earth. And he said that it wasn't really for George King to reason why he was chosen. He was chosen for a very definite reason, and that he was to prepare himself, he was to learn certain advanced yoga breathing exercises so that he could adopt this trance very, very quickly. And then he was to be used by the cosmic intelligences, or the more advanced intelligences, say, within this solar system in the beginning, so that they could give their message through him. And it was in 1955 that he walked completely alone. He'd given up everything. He walked up the steps of the Caxton Hall. He sat down in a chair in front of a public audience, and he went into trance. And the master Aetherius, after whom the society is named, gave the first transmission.
Which was
And,
what?
this is
what were the very
really
first words
Yeah.
that Aetherius said to the group? What was the first
Well, it was an
sentence?
introduction as to who he was and where he came from, the fact that he was a Venusian, he was a representative of Interplanetary Parliament, and that great changes were going to take place for the forthcoming New Age, as people call it, and that this was a way in which certain vital information was going to be given to mankind in these days because of the changes that were forthcoming.
And how did the audience take it? Were any of you in the audience that day?
Unfortunately not, John. I wish I had been. I've witnessed the trance since then, but I wasn't there at the beginning, no.
And do you know people who were there?
Yes, I've met people who were there. And strangely enough, there wasn't disbelief, there wasn't any ridicule. It was, I think, one of the power that you experience during these transmissions. I mean, even now, if we had a tape recorder on this table now and I put one on, you would feel the power. You wouldn't feel the power of George King, but you would feel the vibration of the intelligence that's speaking through him.
Oh, it's a shame we haven't got one.
Yeah,
You got
and we have over 600 of these transmissions that have been professionally recorded and mastered and re-recorded onto professional tape, which are now stored in vaults around the world.
And are they played?
Yes.
Yes, at our services, they're very
Yeah.
powerful, and each intelligence has a different character and feel to it. I mean, Mars Sector 6 is really incredibly powerful, and Saint Guling, who comes through, who's a master in the Great White Brotherhood, he's much more gentle.
And what are the others like? Well, I don't want to tell you. I don't need to tell me all 598 others, but
They all
generally,
have their character.
who's the most
Jesus.
impressive?
Mars Sector 6.
Yeah. Are you all in agreement with that?
Well, the impressive depends what you mean by impressive. I mean, I personally like hearing the Master Jesus through those tapes. It's like love. You hear love coming through his voice.
But also, I mean, you've heard. This is the same. Obviously, the same Jesus. And obviously, you've heard so much. One has heard so much about Jesus. It's
Right.
It must be good to actually hear his actual
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
It is very moving, actually.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this was after he'd had the second the meeting in his kitchen, and what he was told to give this speech, to give this lesson.
Well, the way that it works, as far as a technical point of view is concerned, that he is given a prior warning, or he used to call it a pip. The transmissions were given when the intelligence wanted the transmission to be given, not the other way around. I mean, George King just couldn't sit in the chair and say, right, well, in 5 minutes' time, you know, I'm going to bring through so-and-so, I'm going to bring through so. It didn't work that way. It was the other way round, and he had to prepare himself and to be on standby, if you like, and he virtually was on standby for the majority of his life. And when these transmissions were due to be given, and some of them were extremely topical, I mean, you look at the 50s, for example, it wasn't by chance that the Society was started in 1955, when the reoccurrence of nuclear experimentation was very much in the international eye. And the tests that took place in the 50s were absolutely horrendous. And a lot of the transmissions came specifically from Mars, warning mankind and warning scientists about the implications of nuclear testing, because we were only able to see and to witness the effect on one level of existence.
Now, nuclear testing, of course, well, so far, didn't turn out to be the cataclysm that was once feared. Was that something to do, do you think, with the messages that were given?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Definitely, yes. Not only the messages per se, but some of the transmissions were what we would call highly scientific in nature, and explained the existence and purpose of spacecraft. And it's not by chance that a lot of the testing that took place in Nevada and other places around the world, following the test, there were an enormous amount of sightings of what we call UFOs, or this ridiculous term we call flying saucers. It's just a description. But nevertheless, there were spacecraft in the area. And the military have not denied this, if you go into it really deeply. So the concern of extraterrestrial intelligences, or we call them the cosmic masters, is not only for mankind and his progress, but also for what mankind was then entering into in the nuclear race, because he had no idea of the possible consequences.
And our master has told us that previous to the current civilization, if you call it that, the human race in previous incarnations has destroyed a whole planet called Maldek and Atlantis and Lemuria, and that we've been given another chance. And this time we're not going to be allowed to destroy a world.
Is this our last chance?
Well, who knows?
On this planet, it probably is, because we believe we've passed the point of no return. If I can give a bit of background to this, you know, we're not in isolation, but we believe that this planet is a living, breathing being that is spiritually very much more advanced than all of the life that she supports. And if I can just sort of quantify that, we're talking about the mineral kingdom, the whole of the vegetation kingdom, the animal kingdom, as well as the human kingdom. I mean, we're talking about millions of forms of life, and she is knowingly and deliberately supporting all that life. But she also has her own spiritual path and her own spiritual timetable. And although she has held herself up for possibly millions of years in order to give us a chance to evolve, she has been told by extraterrestrial sources that she may not hold up her evolution any further, and that she was actually given another initiation, which was the most potent one since her inception as a planet. And we actually have the date of that initiation, and it was July the 8th, 1964. And she was told that she may only hold up her own progress for a limited period of time. So we believe that the point of no return is past.
But the Aetherius Society, more specifically George King himself, was used as a channel for certain historic events to be recorded and to be placed as part of our archival history. And these transmissions about specific events, like the initiation of Earth, are in the custody of the Aetherius Society and will be released and to the general public. So when people come into the Aetherius Society, this is a teaching that we give them, because this is a cosmic concept. This is probably the main difference between our beliefs and the more orthodox beliefs, is that it brings in a cosmic realization that we are part of something far, far, far more greater than just this planet and just our own lives.
Do the other religions ever object to being told that their deities or their leaders were from other planets? Does it cause friction?
Yeah, a number of times. George King has had his life threatened on a number of occasions from different religions, because George King is saying Jesus is from Venus, and they're saying, oh no, you know, we're talking about the Son of God here. How can you say these things? And yeah, he's been threatened a number of times.
Is he still alive, or?
No, he went last year.
He passed over last year, July the 12th.
How did you get involved, Gary, in all of this?
Originally, my uncle's been a member for years, and I've never really been interested. In fact, I didn't think much of him anyway at the time.
So you didn't believe, but then you ended up going to a meeting?
Yeah, originally they were holding a course of lectures in Bristol, which is where I'm from, and one of them was on clairvoyance. So it kind of fitted in quite well. So we went along. He said, come along. We did, and it was great. And I think I did a few other lectures, and then he sort of explained that they actually do more than give lectures, they hold services. So he invited us along to a service. So we thought, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And we went there, did a service, was quite shocked at what we seen, basically, because in the services it's not like Orthodox praying, the sort of the bowing bit. It's standing up, hands raised, dynamic, using the voice and power, you know. You're bringing power down through you, energy, if you like, which is all around us, down through the head, out through the psychic centres in the heart and the palms of the hand, where we've got lots of psychic centres, yeah? 7 major ones.
Where are the other 4?
Well, you've got the Christ Centre, Crown Centre, Christ Centre, which is the third eye, Throat Centre, Heart Centre, Solar Plexus Centre, Sex Centre, and the Spleen Centre, which are all sort of up the spine, if you like. So this is how they were praying, using the heart center and the centers in the hands, and dynamically. And I've never seen this before in my life, so I'm having a laugh, me and my cousin at the back row, you know, just laughing at each other, thinking, what's going on here? But I found myself going to another one. I thought, well, okay, now I've got over the initial shock of it, and I did, and you can join in, and you can actually start to feel things after a while. And I've had quite a few experiences.
Like what? What kind of...
Well, it's nothing really you can explain physically. It's more of something internal, but like visions, if you like. Nothing exciting that would mean much to you or anybody else. It means a lot to me, you know.
So personal visions that relate to personal experiences that have occurred to you.
Yeah, it's kind of like feelings almost. You know, it's not. Can't quite put my finger on most of them. But they meant a lot at the time, and it's just sort of fires you up. It's that extra step forward that you've just taken, you know. It proves it to yourself. Because I can talk to you till I'm blue in the face, and it means nothing to you. But you try it for yourself, and then you get something back.
The difference between experience and knowledge, that's what I've found as well. I mean, to start with, I'd put my hands up and, you know, I'd just put my hands up. And then gradually, as I visualised and breathed and so forth, visualised the white light going out, you know, more and more my hands and my arms have started really tingling and almost burning sometimes. And you can really feel when you're evoking the power, and you can also feel when you're not.
Well, in the technique that we have in the Aetherius Society, we've taught thousands of people around the world to tap into this energy and to use it for themselves for the benefit of others. So spiritual healing, to us, is a very, very natural form of giving service and being able to help people. I came into the Aetherius Society in 1960 as a sufferer of severe migraine for 14 years. I mean, I make no bones about how old I was. I was born 36 before the war, and after the war, a lot of us kids were suffering with all kinds of stress. It left me with severe migraine, and in 1960, I came into the Aetherius Society, and I had one healing treatment from somebody who was as dynamic as Diane, and I've never had migraine since.
Really?
Gosh. I mean, having lived in America for the last 17 years, John, I know that they may not call it spiritual healing, but I know that nurses training colleges in New York, for example, in New York State, they call it therapeutic touch. You know, they come out with these nice trendy words, but it boils down to the same thing, is that the nurses are taught how to comfort or to give energy to their patients. Dr. Mehmet Oz, for example, who is a well-known heart surgeon, he allows spiritual healers in the operating theatre while he's doing a triple bypass. And he has a healer at the head of the patient and a healer at the feet of the patient, and they're sending energy in to the patient while he's actually performing the triple bypass. As he says, science is science. It's very, very physical. It's down to earth. It's all to do with the physical body. But he believes that there is something far, far greater behind it all. And of course, this ties in with the message of the Cosmic Masters, in as much as that they try to get across to us that rather than, we're not physical beings trying to be spiritual on this earth. We are spiritual beings gaining experience through a physical body. That's what we are.
Now, are the Cosmic Masters just in this galaxy, or do they transcend? Do the Cosmic Masters who are contacting us through George King, do they exist only in this galaxy? And does each galaxy am I way off the point
No,
here?
no, that's a good
No.
question. That is a
Okay,
good
good.
question.
Because I noticed Mars
No,
and Venus being mentioned.
No, it's a fair question. We believe that all the planets in this solar system are inhabited. Now, if I can
Even the ones that have been scientifically proven not to be inhabited.
Or Mars.
Only on a physical
this
level.
Only on a
equivalent
physical level,
yeah.
level.
Right.
They don't need to live down on this equivalent physical level, and that's no get out either, because, you know, their craft have been seen to disappear. People have taken a photograph of a sunset. There was nothing else there. The film is developed. There's a craft on it. You know, they've been picked up on radar and so on. But all I'm really saying is that they don't need to live down on the equivalent physical level on which we are living. But if they wish to appear to us, then they can come down from the level that, you know, they inhabit their planet down to this equivalent physical level. So we believe that all the planets in this solar system are inhabited. But I mean, there are many solar systems throughout this galaxy, and, you know, galaxies beyond this one. So, I mean, yes, I mean, it's only reasonable to suppose that since all life, however it manifests, is evolving, yes, I'm sure there are many other solar systems that have planets in other galaxies that are also inhabited by different types of life forms.
So why do they choose to appear to people? And
Well,
teach
that's
them.
a very good question. I think every single time a craft appears, in particular, it's an indication, no matter what you say, what you think, what you believe, we are here. We're here. We're here. This is not a new phenomenon. I mean, this has happened right the way throughout
absolutely.
the whole of our recorded
Yes.
history.
Yes. Goes
I mean,
back
the
spaceship in the
Bible.
Bayeux
In the
Tapestry, I
East.
think I'm right in
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
even
Yes.
beyond then.
So who was the very last human manifestation deity on who came down? Shall I rephrase that question in a slightly more coherent way? So Jesus was from Venus,
At that time, yes.
Yes.
and
At that time.
Krishna was from...
But it was only an aspect of the Venusian that actually manifested as the physical Jesus as we know him from on history. I mean, a being from another world, being so advanced in their entirety, couldn't possibly come amongst us. We wouldn't be able to withstand the vibrations of such a being. So it was manipulated that an aspect of the consciousness of the Venusian would be born into our cycle, just like
that
the
was
Buddha was
Jesus.
done.
And
Yes.
so who's the most recent?
Jesus was the most recent in the beginning of the Piscean age. Yes.
And is there any talk of anyone going to come down soon?
There's another
The
master
next
coming,
master.
yeah,
Master, yeah.
which I think most religions predict in one way or another.
And do you know how he's going to come? When?
He'll come with all his power. He won't be an aspect. He won't be born. He will come as a grown man, if you like, probably in a spaceship, and he will have the proof to say, you know, I am extraterrestrial, and, you know, today is the hour that I come, basically. And if those doubt him, then he'll have the power and the ability to prove himself, you know? Nothing will be able to stand in his way.
And do we know how he's going to prove himself?
Presumably by using his power.
If he has to.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said once that Jesus, the aspect of Jesus that was born, if he moved his little finger, could wipe out the entire Roman army.
But
And
he
this
chose
is an
not
aspect. No, he chose not to, obviously. But that's the kind of power we're talking about.
And is this imminent, or do you think it might still be a long way ahead?
to. It'll happen when we're ready, is what the Master said. He says he knows exactly when it will happen, when we're ready. But when that will be depends upon us.
Yeah.
Can you see any semblance of readiness occurring in the
Well,
general
yeah.
I
scheme of things?
think this is a very, very broad and very complicated subject, John. And I think that universally, if you look at what is happening to the world as a whole, people realise, and when I say people, I'm talking about people on all levels, whether they be scientists or whether they be orthodox or especially New Age followers, there is this sense of change. There is a sense of quickening that's happening. I mean, you've only got to look at the weather conditions around the Earth, the freak things that are happening. There is a semblance of upheaval. There's something, it is happening. We have to wake up, or mankind should wake up and ask the question, well, what is exactly happening? And this is a very, very important point, is in as much as you cannot force people to believe, and you can't force people even to ask the questions. But all you can do is to present the case and say, look, we're here, we can help you understand this, and to prepare yourself. But it's up to people to prepare, you know, to get their own house in order.
So for a second I was lost there. The freak weather conditions, are they a signal of things to come?
They are a product of man's thought pattern, because we believe that there are nature spirits and divas which create the weather, and they do so, and they also make plants grow and look after animals, and they do so by taking the energy that is around them, in other words, energy that we've put out, and they make what they can of that. They can only make the weather that our karma deserves. In other words, you know, we might moan about, oh, it's raining outside, but actually, this is the weather we deserve. You know, rains on a bank holiday, this is the weather we deserve.
Really?
And so, in a way,
I mean,
one of the things in our 12 blessings, there's a beautiful phrase, which is, 12 blessings is given by the Master Jesus, and one of them is about, blessed are the thanksgivers, and the thanksgivers are the people who thank the divas and the nature spirits for giving us what they give us. And it's like being grateful for what you've got, rather than, you know, saying, oh, golly, you know, look at this again, you know? I mean, it's
So
like saying, wow, you know, it's
slightly-
raining and it's beautiful, and there's a rainbow or whatever, you know?
But bad weather, is that a karmic punishment? Very bad
It's
weather?
not. Karma isn't a
Can't say
punishment.
punishment,
It's more like a teaching.
Punishment's the wrong
It's
word.
just that
It's
it's
a
about
karmic-
saying yes to what life is giving you and learning from it.
Because the weather, I lived in Manchester for many years, and the weather in Manchester, of course, is a lot rainier than the weather down here in London.
They say so, but I'm a Mancunian. I'm not sure about that.
Oh, it is. Well, certainly in Gorton, where I
Well,
lived.
the point,
Special cloud for Gorton, or maybe it's your special
I
cloud.
think the point we're trying to make is that if mankind was taught these things correctly at an early age, if he was taught the basic laws of karma, if he understood the law of reincarnation, if he understood that interwoven in this space between us and the sun there are dovetailing energy levels, if we become aware of these things and we live in harmony with these things, then you will create a balance that will bring the kind of weather conditions that we're talking about. Because mankind doesn't live in harmony with nature, he tries to fight it. He tries to do things against nature. In fact, he's broken all the rules in the last 100 years when it comes to how he's treated the earth and its resources, and tried to even, through nuclear experimentations, he was at one point very, very close to causing a chain reaction, which would have destroyed this planet. So in other words, we're saying every time man takes a step towards spirituality, the whole of mankind is raised. If he takes a step away from spirituality, mankind is dragged down again.
It's like man's been a taker. For millennia, man's been a taker. And what the society is about is giving something back. Giving to other human beings, giving to the Mother Earth. I mean, one of our most powerful mission is Operation Sunbeam, where we give a token, tiny amount of spiritual energy back to the Mother Earth, just in recognition of the massive sacrifice that she's been making.
What sort of token?
well, an
Well,
energy
that's one for
token.
you.
Well, an energy token. You know, literally, as Diane says, as a token of thankfulness for the fact that she's put up with us for so many millions of years, but quite honestly, as a very primitive race. I mean, there is a slight change in public thinking. I mean, we hear terms now like village earth and so on. And I think there is a gradual realization that what we do does affect the earth, even if it's on a selfish basis, that, you know, it affects the weather or whatever. But
Well, for instance, you've just come back from Los Angeles, Ray, where the weather's always great. Is there?
That's not true anymore. Oh, no, that's not true. As a matter of fact, after I left Los Angeles, I was in communication with my wife, who followed me later. She came over here in Easter, and my friends in Los Angeles. In fact, the weather pattern there has totally changed.
And you do have earthquakes too.
Yes, and well, that's another that's another a story altogether. And this is what Christopher was saying. You see, the space intelligences have warned us that one of their surveys, and this is the main reason why spacecraft are seen around the Earth, we believe, is that they are constantly monitoring the different planes of this Earth. That's why you see spacecraft coming out of the sea, for example. We can't go down, we haven't got the technology to be able to go down into the sea thousands of feet and see what the fault lines are doing. They have an idea of how the Earth is positioned at any one time. And when mankind does do these stupid things and breaks the divine law, like nuclear experimentation, like war, like famine. Famine is a crime. There is enough to go round this Earth. Yes. It's just that it's expedient for there to be certain areas where people are kept in starvation and poverty and ignorance. That is a crime. That is something that is absolutely adding to mankind's karma all the time. And so therefore this energy that's being released has to go somewhere. The energy of suffering is something that every family knows, whether it's on an individual level or whether it's on a village or town or city level.
Tell me this, they can come down, but can we go up?
Why,
well, obviously we've gone up to a certain extent.
What
well,
would be the purpose of it?
To have
be
a look
with them
around.
and learn.
I don't know.
They've offered this. There is a transmission that was given. Yes, you're quite right, John. There is a transmission that have given us an open invitation, providing that we do one basic thing: change. And that is open to us. The whole of the experience of the cosmos is something that they will be delighted to help us experience, but we have to change first. They can't come down and intervene and suddenly at a wave of a magic wand suddenly make us all, you know, all spiritual. We have to do that ourselves.
So how are you as a society doing? How many members have you got at the moment?
Our membership it runs into a few thousand rather than tens of thousands. In other words, our membership is not really a great deal. Membership to us is perhaps different from orthodox organisations.
Well, you don't go out to convert people,
No,
do you?
No, we don't.
We have a hard core of members.
We have a responsibility, without any question, to make the information we have available.
And also,
to as many
but you'd
people as
welcome people in
possible.
if they wanted to join.
Well, yes, of course.
But
yes.
you wouldn't go out, you wouldn't knock on people's doors
No, we
like
don't.
the Mormons.
We don't.
Oh, no.
I want to ask about Sir George King. Firstly, how was he a Sir? Was it hereditary or And was he a sir? Am I right to say he was a sir?
Yes, he was given the title by a prince in his own right of an organisation that bestowed him that title. In other words, it doesn't come from the royal family. It comes from the family that is related back to Constantine.
Mm-hmm. Good. And what was he like as a person? What kind of man was he?
Ray's known him the longest.
Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. This is, I mean, I can take up the whole program with this, but I won't. I mean, obviously. But he was a man who had this inner confidence of what this thing called God is and how it manifests in man and how we need to bring it out and to realize it. And here's a man who has had God consciousness or cosmic consciousness through his yoga practices and virtually was a master of yoga and could see the potential of man. He also was a person who was very much aware and sensitive to all forms of life because he realized more than any person I've met that we're all part of one creation. And he devoted his life to be a servant, if you like, or an emissary, or to be used by the cosmic intelligences for the benefit of man. And he was a very, very powerful, very beneficent man.
But the way you're describing him, he sounds like somebody almost from another plane, somebody who didn't do daily things. What was he like on a daily basis when you were
the most
round
practical
at his house?
person you've ever met? He was... He drove a motorcycle far faster than you and I could. Mm-hmm. He fought the blaze during the Battle of Britain as a fireman in London. He could turn his hand to anything on a practical level.
Did he have any faults at all?
If he was here, he would say he had a lot of faults, and to me, I didn't think he had faults. I know he was impatient because he wanted things to move quicker than they did. He wanted to virtually shake the whole of mankind and say, wake up, can't you see what's happening in front of your very eyes? If that is a fault, well, then it was a good fault.
And where actually is he? He died a year ago. Where is he now?
Well, we don't know that. We believe he is a cosmic avatar, but we don't know where he is at present. To us, that's interesting, but it's not a critical question because the whole point is that he has given us a living, working legacy, you know, for the whole of mankind, and it's up to us to continue with his work on this planet for the benefit of the whole of mankind and the planet. You know, not to sort of say, you know, put him in a little sort of, you know, respectful box, so to speak. And, you know, it's up to us, all of us now. And that is the whole point, that his work lives on.
And did he say that to you? Did he say you've got to carry this on?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, very much.
Yes,
He went out of
absolutely.
his way to guarantee it would carry on, actually.
Yeah, he's left us a working blueprint on all levels so that the Aetherius Society can take everything that he has built and structured into the future, with the exception of the trance condition. There is that connection now no longer exists. He was primary terrestrial mental channel.
So he didn't. So no transmissions came saying we're going to be finding another channel.
No.
So there is no other channel.
Well, when having said that, as Ray says, he was the selected primary terrestrial mental channel, but we do not claim, we do not say that he was the only link at this present time. But to avoid any confusion at all, the Cosmic Masters, you know, did say that they would be giving their transmissions through him, so that there was no confusion, you know, and there is no sort of doubling up and so on.
No, I meant within the Aetherius Society itself.
So
Yes,
everything, so
yes.
these 600 tapes, is everything that needs to be said, has it all been said in
Yes,
these
it
600
has.
tapes? Everything?
Yeah.
So what was the very last transmission? What did that say? Was that kind of summing up of the ones that...
Well, that was an endorsement of what Diane was talking about, the Mission Operation Prayer Power, where...
Oh, so there were some pragmatic, practical, sort of everyday transmissions too. They weren't just... They weren't just sort of philosophies or...
They weren't trivial transmissions.
Oh no,
but
they were
yeah.
very, very practical. I mean, we have, for instance, been... There is a craft, for instance, which we haven't mentioned yet, which we refer to as being the third satellite. And that comes into orbit of Earth 1,550 miles above the Earth's surface. And I mean, it comes into orbit of Earth at predetermined times. But the point of this craft coming into orbit is that it has the technological ability to enhance all vibrations, unselfish spiritual vibrations, by a factor of 3,000 times. And the dates of all those, the orbits of the third satellite, when it's in orbit of Earth, have been given through George King for the next 1,000 years.
And how long do they last for?
Well, this present one actually began on the 3rd of September and will run through to October the 9th.
No. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So 3rd of September, 97?
1998.
Uh-huh.
And will run through to October the 9th.
Right, right.
So, you know, anybody and everybody across the world, you know, whether they know of or believe in the third satellite, I mean, if they knew that it was in orbit, any and all their spiritual actions will be enhanced by a factor of 3,000 times, which is a fantastic opportunity. But the whole point really is, John, here we go again, it's up to us to cooperate with them, because they have made the opportunity, but it rests with us. But I think, as Diane has indicated very well, there's nothing to be lost by this, and there's everything to be gained, so why not give it a chance? And as Gary has said, you know, then you'll know for yourself that it works.
So the people who are sitting at home now might be saying to themselves, OK, I'll give it a try, but specifically speaking, what do I do? I mean...
That's it. We've done this many times, and we've even done it on radio, where Dr. Richard Lawrence has got people to cooperate. And that is to sit straight with the spine straight. Try and sit in a straight back chair if you can, okay? And then remove any watches that you have, like this, if you can, any metal around there. If you can remove rings. I can't on this one because of the heat. And then you stay there, and then you raise your hands like this. Don't pray like this, but raise your hands like this. And then just send energy, just say a prayer, just visualize yourselves being filled with this prana, as Christopher said. Feel this energy through you, ask that you be used as a channel, and then send it, and say a little prayer that you may want to send it over to... There's plenty of places around the world. There's Ireland, there's Rwanda, there's all places around the world where there's suffering, there's sickness, there's starvation. And people at home, when they see this, they get very, very frustrated because they think, what can I do? I'm just one person. Every single person can help just by doing this one simple practice. And then visualize the energy coming out through the heart and the centers and the palms of the hands, and then just allow it to flow, and just let it happen. Just try it and see, and you'd be surprised.
In the Aetherius Society, what we believe in is self-development. Yes, realize your inner potential, but in order to give more effective service. This should not be your motive, but as you sow, so shall you reap, and it should be an upward spiral of self-development, greater ability to give service to others, and an upward spiral. But ultimately, in these latter days, the whole point is really service.
And are there false messengers? What about, for instance, people who say that they've been abducted? And there's quite a lot of those people about.
Oh, well, I mean, it's trendy, isn't it? I mean, who are you? Who are you on this earth if you haven't been abducted? I mean, let's face it, John. I mean, I come from a country where it's a culture, it's a pop culture. I mean, you're nobody virtually unless you either have been abducted or you know somebody who's been abducted, or you know somebody who is an a spaceling, a space child. That's another thing which is very, very trendy in America.
Being a space child.
I'm afraid that this is really, I really get hot under the collar, is because this is an aspect of the whole movement which is in the light of real serious research. The majority of those cases are unfounded.
It's a question of what they were, really, isn't it?
Exactly. But to say, like you read in the so-called, you know, some of these magazines in America, and hear them propounding in conventions, that you know, it runs into millions of people a bit. Why? What a waste of time. I mean, the Cosmic Masters have got something better to do than to come down and pick up people and bring them down again. I mean, probe them. I mean, how ridiculous. But this is again, it's a sort of sensationalist aspect to it. But we are of the opinion that some people have genuine experiences, and that is something which should be a part of research, just like any other experience on the earth should be researched. But
we think that in some cases there may have been lower astral. There are maybe entities out there who are creating fear in people, and actually one of our teachings is that fear needs to be overcome in order for us to advance. Bravery is the first of our freedoms. Mars Sector 6 has given the 9 freedoms. The first one is bravery, and without bravery you can't really do the second one, which is love people, because obviously if you're too scared to, that harms the energy. And once you love people, you really want to serve them, and that's our third freedom. And so it goes on through enlightenment and beyond.
yes, that's a good point. That's a good point.
To end, Christopher, let me just ask you, what does your tie mean?
Well, it's actually the Aetherius Society's tie. Now, this part here is the oldest, it's Sanskrit, and it's the oldest name on earth for God. And the little part here, the triangle, that simply symbolizes wisdom. But George King went into trance to devise a symbol for the Aetherius Society, and it's actually the first time that these two symbols have been put together on this planet. So what it actually means is God manifesting itself as wisdom, and that is the Aetherius Society symbol.